Hello everyone, my name is Anis with CyneWorX Technologies and you're watching my YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna talk about DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So the function and the purpose of this protocol is assigning an IP address to a host, your cell phone, your laptop, switches, routers, and other network devices. Because for every single device to communicate on the network with other devices, it must get an IP address. So there are two different ways to assign an IP address to a host. Number one is manually, when the network engineer or network technician assign an IP address to that specific host. The second thing is the protocol, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, which automatically assigns an IP address to devices. Any device connects to the network, it has to have an IP address. All right, so let's go ahead and configure that. So I'm gonna get some network devices like router, and let's get 2 switches. Okay, let's get some PCs. The reason I'm getting 2 different switches, as we will be configuring 2 different DHCP pools. So one router can have more than one DHCP pool for different VLANs, different subnets, or different networks. So let's connect all of them. Okay, connect to the second switch. Now the switch, connect them with the PCs. So if you guys notice, we had a link light, green link light between the PC and the switch. But this is amber. I think it should get green soon. And if you see here, these are red lights. So I mean, there is no connection, no communication right now. And the reason is because we haven't configured the router, and the ports are down. All these interfaces on the routers, they are by default, they are down. So we need to assign, we need to unshare the ports interfaces, and we have to assign the IP addresses. So if you see, since switches, their interfaces are by default, they are not admin down. So, and the link light is green now between the switch and the PC. So first of all, we have to configure the router. Okay. So let's go to config mode. And before I do that, let me show you something on the PC. So we just want to make sure it doesn't have any IP address right now. Okay, so we are in PC1. Go to config. Okay, DHCP, but there is nothing. We are not going to assign any IP address or anything. So by default, it got the IP address, but this is wrong. And it's not gonna work, of course. DHCP, but no IP address assigned to this interface. Okay, there's no IPv4 address. Same on this side. Okay, this is DHCP. Okay, and again, there is no IP address. 169 is not a valid IP address. It's just the Windows, Microsoft Windows assign an IP address, which is not the valid IP address. Okay, so I just showed you guys two PCs of on each switch, not the other second. Okay, so now we are gonna go ahead and configure the DHCP pool on the router. So we said now enable. We're going to config. First of all, let's change the host name to CyneWorX. Okay, and let's say first of all we need to see what kind of ports interfaces do we have. So show IP interface brief. Okay, it's 000. Their admin down, and okay, so 000 and 001. Okay, so let's go to the interface, GI 0/0/0, and assign an IP address of 192.168.100.1, 255.255.255.0. So what I'm going to do, since I have two different switches, I'm going to add two networks. One will be 192.168.100.0, and the other network will be 192.168.200.0. And then every switch and both PCs will get an IP address from their designated networks. Okay, so let's do that and then do no shut. Okay, the interface is up, and as you guys see, this link light came up, and now this amber light will go green also within a few seconds. It's just negotiating right now. So within a few seconds, it will go up, and then all these PCs should be good to communicate. But since they don't have an IP address yet, they will not be able to ping the router. Okay, so now go to the other interface, GI 0/0/1, which is connecting to switch 2. Okay, and we are going to assign the IP address of 192.168.200.1. 255.255.255 will be the subnet mask. Okay, no shut, and that's it. All right, so now let's do show IP interface brief. Okay, so 192.168.200.1 is up, 192.168.200.1 is up. Okay, now let's go back to the device, the PC. So let's see, it's DHCP, but as you guys can see, there is no IP address, not assigned any IP address yet. Okay, check this one. Okay, this is also DHCP, but no IP address has been assigned yet. Let me show you this one too. Okay, so no IP address has been assigned to this one. Okay, now let's configure the DHCP. Excuse me. So we are going to go back to the global config mode, and we are going to do IP DHCP excluded addresses. So by this command, what we are trying to say, to the switch that do not assign these IP addresses in this range. So like let's say 192.168.100.1 because one is assigned to the router, and 192.168.100.30. So by this command, we are asking the router that you will be acting as a DHCP server, but do not assign addresses between this range, like 100.1 to 100.30. So we are going to keep these 30 IP addresses reserved for our switches, routers, servers, or other devices. Okay. So this is the command. The next command, we are going to say DHCP IP DHCP pool. We are going to create a pool and we will name it, let's say, management. Okay. And now we are going to assign them to a specific network. So 192.168.100.0 255.255.255.0. So by this command, we are asking the router to accept this as your network. Okay, so for the management pool, this is your network, 192.168.0. Okay. Okay, the next command will be the default route. The default router, so 192.168.100.1. That's the default router. So I mean the DHCP server for this network will be this one, which is the IP address of this router on interface 0/0/0. Okay, and the next one we will do DNS server 192.168.100.1 because we don't have like a specific server, DHCP server or DNS server. If we had servers, DHCP server or DNS server other than this router, then we will be assigning that IP address of that device right here. Okay. So since this router will be acting as a DNS server and as a DHCP server for this network, we will be assigning its own IP address. Okay, so 192.168.100.1, and that's it. Okay, we're going to save and we will be show IP interface brief. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so the links are still up. And now we are going to go to the PCs on this network connecting to 0/0/0. So these two PCs should have an IP address, but what IP address, what will be the first IP address assigned to one of these PCs? I'm going to give you guys 3 seconds to think about it and just guess. All right. So if your answer was IP 31 will be the first and 32 will be the second, you are correct. Because we excluded the IP addresses between 100.1 and 100.30. So I mean any IP address between this range would not be assigned to any host or any device. Okay, so it means the next available IP address will be 31 and 32. So I think this one should get 31 and this one should get 32. Or okay, so let's go and check it out. Okay, so imagine just here is DNS and DHCP server, right? Last time when we checked, there was nothing, it was 0, and we did not add any router information or DHCP server information. It got this IP address automatically from the server, like the router send packets on this side and saying, hey, I'm a DHCP server. If you guys need an IP address, let me know. So now if we check the fast Ethernet, there should be an IP address assigned to this one, and here we go. See, 192.168.100.32. So if we go and ping, so ping 192.168.100.1, what do you guys think? It should be pinging or not? It should be definitely pinging, because that's how, if there was no connection between this and the router, then they would not have gotten an IP address, right? So since they got an IP address, it means there is a connection. And there we go. So it's pinging, right? And what is the IP address of this device? It's 32. So let's ping the other PC on the same network. And there we go. We have a successful connection, right? So now let's check this one. Same thing here. And there we go. 192.168.100.31. So this is the first assigned IP address out of that range we have excluded. All right. Okay. So now let's ping from the second 192.168.100.32. Oh, sorry guys. There we go. We have a successful connection. So now, since we did not configure the DHCP pool for this on this interface, we will not be able to see any IP addresses on these devices. Okay, so let's go. See, there's nothing. It's just the IP address gets automatically, but that's not a valid IP address. Okay, so just to make sure, let's ping 192.168. I apologize, guys. I'm typing too fast. Maybe 192.168.200.1, and it's not gonna ping it because this interface on the router, it has an IP address. We assign an IP address to this, like 200.1, 192.168.200.1 is the IP address on this interface, but it's still not pinging because the PC has no IP address. We did not assign any IP address manually, and the route, we have not configured this router, this interface as a DHCP server, so it's not assigning an IP addresses yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do continuous ping. So if you do ping 192.168.200.1 and then dash key, and if I do, oops, looks like it's not. Okay, let me try something else. Okay, so this is a continuous pinging, right? It will be pinging this IP address until we stop it manually. So for troubleshooting purpose, this is a very good thing. You don't have to ping again and again. You can just do ping dash T 192.168.200.1, and it will be, pinging this device until you stop it manually. Okay, so now let's assign another IP DHCP pool for this network, 200.0 network, like this one. Okay, this is a different subnet, so we have to do the same commands. Go into global config mode first. IP, DHCP, excluded addresses, and 192.168.200.1. 168.200. So let's, for this one, we're going to do 50. All right, so by this command, we are asking the router that you will be a DHCP server for this network, 200 network subnet, but we are asking it to exclude these addresses from .1 till .50. So the first 50 IP addresses will be reserved. The one we have already assigned it to the router itself, but the other 49 addresses, we are going to keep them for our servers, switches, and other routers, or access points, or maybe just for some other servers. Okay, so that's the first one. Then now we are gonna do the DIP DHCP pool. You can give them any name, like let's say CyneWorX. Okay, CyneWorX. And now the second, since we are in the pool now, we are gonna assign the network. So the network will be 192.168.200. Okay, 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. Okay, the default router for this will be the IP address of this interface. All right, so it was 192.168.200.1. Okay, the next one will be DNS server 192.168.200.1. The same thing. Okay, so now let's go to the ping, and this should get the IP address. Oh, there you go. See, that's the main purpose of this command --t is that you can see, it starts automatically. So now we don't know what IP address it gets, right? So let's do Control-C. It will stop the continuous ping. IP config/all, and let's see what IP address it get. See, so excluded range was from 1 to 50. That's why the first available IP was 51. So that's why this PC got 51, and this one should be 52. Okay, interface. Oh, this one didn't get IP address because this one was static, and now you will see. See, this is 52, and let's suppose I'm going to add another PC here. Okay, I'm going to add this PC and connect it to the switch. And if the DHCP is enabled on this PC, it will get the IP address right away. So let's go to the config, DHCP, and it should get the IP number. It should get 53. Now, come on, get the IP address. Okay, let's do static and DHCP again, and there we go, 192.168.200.53. Okay, so let's go to this PC and ping 192.168.200. I apologize, guys. I'm really sorry. 192.168. 200.1. It should ping its router. And what was IP address? 52, 51. Okay, it's pinging all the devices. 52. Okay, and 53. So now I have a question for you guys. So I have an IP address or network of 192.168.200 on this interface, 192.168 and 100.1 on this interface. So if you see all the lights, link lights are green. So it looks like, and we can, these three PCs can ping this router and these two PCs can ping this router. So the question for you guys to answer me in the comment section, that if I ping this PC, PC4 from PC2, is it going to ping? Do you think the ping will be successful or not? Think about it. Okay, if we ping, because both subnets are connected to this single router, and both subnets are up and running, and they can ping internally. All the devices can ping in the same subnet. So what about the other subnet? If we ping this PC from one of these, do you think it's going to work or not?